Welcome, welcome, welcome. You're listening to the Nordic Takedown, a Star Wars Unlimited podcast, weekly episodes dropping on Thursdays. My name is Viktor, and with me today,
I'm so humble, or Adam,
we're
depending
trying to
on.
get back to being humble after all the wins, right?
Yes, it's soon a clean slate, right? We're closing to the end of set three. I guess for us in the Nordics, it is already ended, but yeah. So in set four, I have as many wins as anyone else.
Right,
Zero.
right. So we have a full-packed agenda for today. We're going to talk a little bit about that dropping set in just over a week from when this episode drops. We
Yeah.
will have the pre-releases starting, at least here in Sweden. So let's talk a little bit about the leaders that you can look at, because we don't have all the cards spoiled yet, but we do have all the leaders. We're going to go into some prep for the pre-releases. We're going to talk a little bit about the unofficial or the official unofficial Nordic
Yeah.
Takedown Nordic player ranking and what that is. And then we're going to talk, actually make a farewell to the set 3 meta. Like talk a
Yeah.
little bit about what it was and what it meant to us and how we perceive it. And that's our agenda for today, right?
Yeah, that sounds good. A lot to chew on, I guess.
Yeah.
Is that an English expression or just a Swedish that I translated?
I'm not sure. Well, at least we will have something to yap about for a bit here.
Yeah.
Before we do, what has your week been like in your SWU life?
It's probably been my calmest Woo Life week, maybe ever, since it's released. Maybe not, like some close to it at least. We went to the Oslo PQ. That was last weekend actually. It's not that far from this, I guess. After that, I think I probably had like 7 or 8 days where I didn't even play a single game, or maybe a few in the midweek. Can't remember. But I've been moving, so moving city. So that has been taking most of my focus. So I've seen that there's been a huge announcements of spoilers lately with a lot of cards in them. I have not been able to comprehend all of that, but I'm slowly getting into this. Obviously, we can't really play with cards yet, but this theory crafting stuff. That's where I'm mostly been like, and mostly with old leaders, just tweaking old decks because, as you mentioned before, a lot is not spoiled yet, and I have trouble like creating something like, for example, like for Thrawn. It's a when defeated guy. There's a lot of things. I have problems with like this new mechanic and like start building a deck, and then there is so many cards left to spoil that might have to fit in. So I just prefer to wait until it's all released for these new guys. For example, Phasma or something like that.
Yeah, no, obviously theory crafting has been really nice for a few weeks. We've had enough spoiled that it's been nice to start testing with a bit of proxies, and with the Moose Pack crew, some of them have been really excited and really busy.
Yes, yeah.
We are going to drop a video, or Gustav is compiling a video with some of the Moose Pack guys with some of our collective thoughts of the new meta that might occur and some of the decks that have been tested. We have been doing a lot of streaming on the channel as well, live streaming on our Discord server for people who wants to just drop in and see a few games of testing with new cards, new sets, and all that.
Yeah. Spoiler, I have not been on it.
No, I've been doing it quite a bit, and it's been nice. Gustav has been the most busy. He's been really good with that.
I think that's a really nice initiative, and I am going to stream some as well here in the future. Like there is going to be a lot more SWU for me now when the move has settled. Might even tease a little bit that it's possible to get some coaching and stuff like that. If you're interested in that, just PM me on or DM is the English word, not the Swedish. PM DM, and we will set something up. It's not finalized yet, but it's something that I'm working on now when I have a switch of scenery, more time. So, what have you been doing?
Well,
School-wise?
I had a great time this weekend watching the Two Moons stream with Yona and Thork. That was a great stream. Some really interesting matches with a lot of players that were super good, but that I haven't heard of that much before. Like I think the Austrian scene hasn't been in the spotlight as much as possibly the Polish and British and French scenes have been. So
Yeah.
those are players I'm not as familiar with, but some of them were really, really good. It's really great watching it. And both Thork and Yona did an amazing job casting it. It was really nice. Also
And
been
you did
working.
your own casting.
Yeah, I did my last, but that was the weekend before. I
Yeah,
did
but still.
the Oslo cast. That was awesome. Very long though.
Yeah.
Almost 13 hours straight.
Yeah, it was very impressive how I watched it back, how you guys dealt with the delay. Like that is also a weird thing, dealing with a delay and limited information.
Mm,
It was a really good job, and like especially like Alan's road to the finals or like his
yeah,
knockout road must have been really fun casting, like following one player all the way. It's you
that
don't
was
know what's gonna
amazing.
happen.
I had some incredible guests for the Top Cut.
Yep.
Jeff and Loopy, they are just amazing casters. They're so they're so skilled at it, and getting to follow Alan with that crazy deck
Yeah.
and just explore it with as with the audience as it was casted and just try and figure out what it was up to. We had a
Yeah.
blast. It was so much fun. Really, we learned a lot doing it as well for technical side
Yeah.
of it. I was not aware at all
No
that
one was.
YouTube had that 12-hour limit, and apparently they just stop recording. They do let you transmit for as long as you like,
Yeah,
apparently,
that's cool. Yeah.
and they don't give you any notice. There was nothing popping up. We had no idea that they just stopped recording the transmission at 12 hours blank, and then anything past that is just it was a live cast, and
Yeah.
those that saw it, they saw it, and if you didn't, you didn't.
Yeah.
We learned.
As most people said, game 2 was not that cool of a watch, but the game 1 was pretty.
That
That
was
was pretty
intense.
cool. Yeah,
It was really intense. Game 2, though, we had a lot of fun. I think
makes sense.
we had a lot of fun commentating it, and it was. Yeah, I wish people would have been able to see it, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
what it
I
is.
wish that I could have seen it back as well, like for sure. But also, like huge shout out to Magnus, who was with
Mm.
you for the delay part.
Oh yeah, he was so good at that though. Like
uh,
it was his first time casting as well, and he
yeah,
handled it like a pro. It was great.
yeah, it was really good. It was a good back and forth.
Hmm.
With you and all the guests. So I guess we shout out
Yeah,
Jonas now as well,
Jonas
because
was
so he's
amazing
not
as
left
well.
out.
No,
It was good overall, everyone.
I mean, I've met Jonas a bunch of times now and played him, and he's just one of the nicest dudes you find, and he's very easy to talk to, and he has so many great. He's very keen on observation when he looks at games and so on. So he made some very astute commentating. I really like commentating with Jonas. I'd love to do that again. No, it was great. And then this week that passed now, I've actually been working a lot on that deck tech with Alan that I made for the Blue B1 deck. It was a great time doing that with Alan. I had never met Alan before, but what a nice dude as well.
Oh yeah,
Very chatty guy, like very entertaining. Like I had a great time doing that.
easy doing videos with that type of personality.
Oh yeah. He was just. It was so easy to get him talking about the deck, and he had so many interesting thoughts about it and about cards, and he presented it in a very clear and fun way. You know, I love doing that video and then editing it and getting it out there. So I've been busy on the content side mostly. I have played, but mostly just testing a lot of the new cards with proxies and so on, trying to figure out what I like and not. So yeah, it's been a busy week, even though I haven't been to any tournaments or anything.
Yeah,
So
that's all good.
So what is coming up then for us? I think both in you and me, we both have a few pre-releases lined up now.
I am going to 1 or 0, I think.
Oh.
Like, since there is no one locally, I have to travel if I need to do it. And since I live together with someone now, and that we have the Malmö tournament coming up the 29th. We have the what's it called, the Cantina Brawl 3 in April 12th. I've already booked that up, and I purchased my ticket to Lille.
Oh, you got them there. Cool.
Yeah, not I haven't booked plane or anything like that, but I've booked the
actual ticket.
yeah, so I have a spot. So I need to prioritize that. I also want to go to the next planetary in Stockholm, if there is one. So I need some wiggle room.
I think we're pretty sure that we will get one PQ at Alpha Spill.
Yeah.
It sounded with Philip and Nicola that they've been in talks with, I don't know if it was Jonas or someone else at Alpha Spill, and it sounded like it probably would happen.
Yeah, so I need some wiggle room.
Yeah. I guess you need to be able to negotiate the time spent.
Yeah, and now I'm not working as well, so I have to it's easier to motivate my trips when I can come back with prices that pays a lot.
Sure. Yeah. I love me a good pre-release though. I actually enjoy sealed a lot. Out of the limited formats, obviously, drafting is more fun, but I think for me at least, sealed is a really good way of getting that first impression of a set, because you do play cards that you don't normally gravitate to. When I look at spoilers and so on, I am fairly fast of judging cards. Like I might just rule a lot of cards out at first glance. That's not for me. That's not going to work.
Same.
That's going to be,
yeah.
And I'm often wrong. Like I'm very surprisingly often wrong. So actually getting to play them, and with limited, especially like with the pre-release limited this way, you have to play most of the cards you find anyway. You need to put a lot of those cards in your deck eventually, so you do get to explore more cards this way, and it's a really fun and relaxed way for me to actually work with the cards and start thinking about them, in trying to make them work rather than just think about whether or not they will work. So that's good for me.
I think also sealed is the best way to introduce players to the game. Besides starter deck. If it's so casual and so nice. Nobody really is like in that competitive sense, because people know that even if you're the best, you might not get the best 6-packs. The best player can go 2-2 in a pre-release easily.
For sure.
So it's a really nice way. I think if I only get to play one draft or one sealed in a set, I would rather go for the sealed. But if I have to play 5 of either one, I would go 5 drafts.
I think that's very accurate. I feel the same way. So with all limited formats, one thing that really stands out is that a lot of things that wouldn't work in a constructed format might work really well in a limited environment. Yes. And we saw with especially with set 3 that we had like this super standout leader that just was so much stronger than everything else that it really didn't matter that much what other cards you put in the deck, as long as Yeah, it's obviously Nalase. I'm talking
Yeah,
about Nalase here,
yeah.
obviously. Nah, but so like I said in the intro, we sure don't have all of the cards spoiled yet, but we do have all of the leaders spoiled yet. What do you think about the new leaders in a limited environment?
I think there are some good ones, for sure. I think one thing you want to look at when you go to limited, I think it's like stat lines.
Yeah.
Basically, leaders that are hard to remove are usually pretty good.
Hmm.
Uh, I think we saw in set one, for example, that Chewbacca was pretty good in like, uh, but pretty good, not amazing, but
No, but
because he had Sentinel, because you could not remove him in an efficient way because you had
he
six
could
packs.
certainly work. He could
Yeah.
certainly work. Yeah.
Um,
Stat
so
line is really interesting. Yeah.
so
Flip.
for me, like a flip that is like impactful and you have a hard stat line to get through. So I'm
Mhm.
looking a little bit like on Asajj Ventress and Captain Phasma are the ones that and maybe even Darth Vader. But for me,
Interesting.
especially Phasma could be really good because since it's a limited card pool, if you get a couple of first order cards,
Hmm.
um, which there are, since I haven't really watched all the spoilers yet, which I said, so I don't know if there are a lot of first order things yet. But if there are,
Hmm.
then she becomes quite good in Unlimited. Like, and she's a four
Yeah.
six deploying on 5.
Hmm.
Um, she will put some pressure. And on the other hand, Asajj, she has the grit, right? So
Yeah.
if you there are not really good removals, so if you already have a little bit of board, she can just kill something and then keeps getting face and has the flexibility of going space as an upgrade.
And that's a very important point there. Removal is so much less consistent in limited formats,
Yeah,
especially in sealed. Like if you like those are cards that you would be looking for in deciding what colors to play. If you find some good removal, that's probably where you're going to play because it's so strong. But there won't be that much of it, so you don't have to worry too much about removal when you construct your deck either.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, grit and other things like that might be much stronger in a limited format than they are in a constructed format.
yeah. And in general, I think there are lot of decent leaders for limited, like Poe, Luke is also decent.
Hmm.
Uh, Compared to like in set 3, as you said, there was some pretty good one, but there was just one that was bananas.
Yeah, exactly.
In Anakin that was like hard to kill and just scaled
Yeah,
with
yeah.
getting damaged. Which like we could mention that in limited usually goes fairly fast.
Yeah.
Because you get an opportunity to hit base quite regularly
Hmm.
because low removal,
Yeah.
which was awesome for Anakin because even then you win on 2 strikes
Yeah.
instead,
Yeah.
because you don't do that many big strikes usually in limited. You just kill people by 1,000 cuts usually. um, so it's going to be very interesting. Have you looked at any ones that you think are really good? I think, like, for example, Thrawn and Han Solo are pretty good leaders, but they are not good in limited because of their abilities.
Right, right. No, I think yeah. When I look at what I'm looking for in a leader for a limited format, I'm looking for two things really. The one thing is obviously the stat line, and I think a caveat to that: stat lines are very dependent on when they flip.
Of
So
course.
what is a good stat line for a 5 flip is definitely not a good stat line for a 6 flip,
Yeah.
and for a 3 flip, sorry, a 4 flip, I a turn 3 flip, I don't need as much from the stat line as I would from a 5 or 6 flip. So it's very dependent on when they flip, because obviously you can multiply. So
Yeah.
if you flip on 4 resources, you get to have that leader available to you a whole turn earlier. So that's a lot. That's a lot, especially when you consider that removal is so much rarer. And the other thing that's really important is whether or not their ability will facilitate any of the more important parts of limited play. And
Yeah.
I think the most important part of limited play is trading.
Yes.
Being able to trade well is so much stronger in limited than it is in any other format. And I think we can see that already from set one, you had leaders like Unofficial that really did not make much of a splash in constructed
Oh,
format,
yeah. No.
but her ability to get good trades made her really, really strong in limited.
Yeah.
And
Both in draft and sealed.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, if their abilities could somehow facilitate in a consistent way your trading, the more consistent it is, it's actually more important to be consistent than it is to be strong.
Yeah.
So, getting a +1 every turn is better than getting a +5 sometimes. Because you don't know if it's the time when you need it. So if you look at a leader like Han Solo, his ability is really strong in a
Yeah.
limited format if you could rely on it, but you can't rely on that ability. So for those of you who haven't followed spoilers, Han Solo unit is um, on his leader side, he has an action, and it's a very good action if it would be consistent. It says reveal the top card of your deck, then attack with the unit. If the revealed card and that unit have different odd costs, that unit gets +1, +0 for this attack. So this is actually very similar to what Unersa had,
Yeah.
only that she would know that she would get that +1. If she was attacking another unit, she got +1 with such an action. But Han
Yeah.
Solo don't know if he will get it. He will have to flip and then decide what unit to attack with or not. If the card he flips is an even costed unit, he doesn't get anything.
Yeah. He reminds me so much like you can, if you've played Star Wars Destiny,
Mm,
you see so many like when these new things are popping up,
hmm.
there's just ideas from Destiny that they are bringing in, like
Quite
indirect
often.
damage, for
Yeah.
example. And this Han Solo is the same.
Yeah.
There was a leader called Mother Talzin.
Hmm.
Everyone doesn't know Mother Talzin, but she's from the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
And in Destiny, you had dices. So in her case, it was she had an ability like you could turn a die
Mm,
if your top card of your deck was an odd card.
yeah.
So and it and that after a few sets, there was consistently you could build a deck with only odd cards.
Yeah.
In Destiny, you only played 30 card deck, so
It
uh,
wasn't that hard.
so it wasn't that hard. But maybe you played 24, 26 to have the odds, and then you played some really powerful even cards
Mm,
uh, for the off chance of that. And I think they are trying to do something similar here with Han. And I
hmm.
think when we have 6 uh, sets available,
Yeah. You could
that's
probably
when you can shine with him.
you could
Uh,
probably build a completely bonkers
yeah.
deck with him because you could make him reliably work in constructed. But
Yes.
when you're looking at sealed, especially sealed,
Yeah.
you're gonna play the cards you get,
Yep.
and
And then 3/7 at 5 resources isn't that fat.
one of the most important things when you look at a sealed pool is going to be, do I have 2 drops? Do I
Yeah.
have enough 2 drops? And that just is totally contradicting his ability, making him less good. So I think in a sealed environment, he's just not going to work, at all.
Yeah.
And another thing that can make a leader not work particularly well, especially in sealed pools, might be slightly easier in a draft pool, but in a sealed pool, it's when you are relying on a certain trait.
Yeah.
So if that is a trait that is abundant in the set, sure, go ahead. So when you look
Like
at a
Rebels
leader
set
like,
1.
yeah, or Cad Bane's Underworld in set 2,
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
extremely abundant in the set, and you could definitely rely on it in yellow. So if you did get a good yellow pool and you could play Cad Bane, you could very consistently rely on his ability.
Yeah.
But you were talking about Phasma, and unlike you, I have been looking at the pool for Phasma because I was
Yeah.
really interested in her as leader. But unfortunately, it is not as great a pool as you would hope. So I'm
Yeah.
not sure if you could, if you get it, if you open the packs where you get all the good first order cards, sure, Why not? Go for it. It's
Yeah,
super strong. It's going to be super strong, actually. But you might not get
it's
that.
not reliable. Yeah,
No, I don't
you
think you
can't
might get.
just pack fast man player.
No,
Well,
no,
well,
yeah.
maybe you can. She still has pretty good stat line for
Oh
5.
yeah, no,
Uh,
yeah, sure, sure.
so it's not necessarily that you get a crap deck out of it in a limited perspective.
But for me, then, if you're looking at a leader with that stat line at 5, you got Rose Tico, and she will probably be crap in sealed. Oh, sorry, in constructed.
Yeah,
But in sealed, she's a 4/6, flips on 5, and she gets to heal 2 damage from a vehicle unit
yeah,
every turn. And it's going to be a ton of vehicles. So you're going to be
yeah.
very reliant on actually getting vehicles this set.
And as you
But
said, a lot of trading.
a
And if you
lot of
value trade,
trading.
you
Yeah.
have HP to heal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You have HVs to heal. She's in blue, which usually have pretty large booties on their units. So you will have units that will be able to take a hit, and then you can heal them and keep going with them. And you could probably get a pretty good board state after a while with a leader like Rose Tico in sealed. I
yeah.
don't
It's
think I think she's absolute crap in constructed, but she could be a possible good leader in sealed. I don't
yeah,
think she's the best by any means, but I think she's a lot more reliant than you think she might be.
yeah. Other leaders that could be crap. I
Mhm.
think you should stay away from Admiral Piet
Yeah.
and Admiral Akbar. I
Hmm.
think, especially like Piet, maybe because
Yep.
like a
Akbar
two
is so hard.
seven.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Piet definitely probably not good in sealed.
yeah,
Very good in constructed from our testing. He's actually consistently doing good in constructed.
yeah.
But
Like there are so many capital ships now. I
mhm,
haven't really looked into if they are good or not, but like discounting things by 2
mhm.
is
Yeah,
insane.
it's
And
insane.
like we played a Han Blue,
Mhm,
Han 2 Blue, and
mhm.
they got damaged for being discounted by 1.
Yep, exactly.
So if you can play his ability like just half the times that Han Blue did, it's kind
Mhm.
of the same value.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
like um,
No, yeah,
so
it's
I
very
can
strong.
see him being good. I can see
Yeah,
him
no,
being
I've
fantastic.
seen some decks perform really well. In a sealed pool, however, you're not going to be able to
Yeah,
reliably get as many capital ships as you need to make
yeah,
that good. A lot of the capital ships are of higher rarities, especially the good ones are
yeah.
rare or even legendary.
Then it's
Uh,
even harder. Yeah,
yeah, so those you might not be able to pull off a guy like Piet, and his stat line is just not going to cut it.
no,
The ability super strong for constructed, probably not as relevant in sealed, and the body, the stat line is just too weak, I'd say.
yeah,
No, I think Admiral Akbar is much harder to actually tell how good he's going to be, because being able to build a swarm with tokens might actually work, but I
yeah,
don't know if it will.
yeah. Uh,
It's so wonky. The ability is really wonky.
Yeah, you could you could swarm in the last set with
Hmm.
Rex,
Hmm.
but that also helps that Rex went on 5.
Yeah, definitely.
Uh, this guy
Akbar is
goes
a
out on
6.
6 and just a
Yeah,
3/8, so he does not really push anything
no,
when
no.
he's out. I'm gonna go on a limb and say that he's really sad.
Yeah, I think so, but I don't know it for sure.
No,
I
yeah,
might be surprised there. My favorite pick of the bunch for limited would be, like, I think like the attachment hate is very specific, and it's
yeah,
not always going to be able to target the leader, the pilot leaders. So
yeah,
I think pilot leaders is something you could look at for limited. I think they could quite reliably stay on the board as pilots for at
yeah,
least another turn, much more than constructed, and some of them have really strong effects. So I think the pilot leaders there, that's where I'd start look. And I think the one that I think would be strongest, because we've seen over and over again how strong it is to be able to ping things
yep,
in this game. And Luke Skywalker is going to get to ping things from turn 2, because you're going to be able to attack with a fighter unit basically every phase. Fighters are very common. You're going to be able to find them, especially in red. You're going to find a lot of fighters. So being able to attack with a fighter is going to be quite common. You're going to be quite reliably pinging something for one every turn. It doesn't cost anything. It's just an action, and it seems really strong. And then when he flips at 6, which isn't ideal, but he flips at a 4/5 as an attachment, and then you get to deal 3 damage. Like you get to just push 3 damage onto units on each attack, and that to me seems absolutely bananas in sealed environment.
Yeah, he looks a lot stronger than Vader. That should be
Mm.
his like
Yeah.
opposite thing. Like
Mhm.
Vader does the same thing,
Yeah.
with the create a TIE fighter token if you have attacked with a vehicle instead. Like it's a bit harder and like it's not the
Yeah.
same. And his flip is way worse,
Yeah. Yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah.
Uh,
Definitely.
sure, he's 5/5 instead of 4/5.
Mm.
So he cannot be traded as easily if like him and Luke goes out together.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I think Luke looks a lot cooler in that way than Vader. And as you said,
Yeah.
like, and he says this upgrade can't be defeated by enemy card abilities.
No, exactly. So anything that would defeat the upgrade. So
Yeah.
this doesn't protect the unit. You can still defeat the unit if you
Yeah.
have
Okay.
something like Vanquish. I don't think Vanquish is reprinted for this set,
No.
but anything like that would still be able to
But
defeat
doesn't
the
okay.
unit.
Now you can teach me some rules.
Mhm.
So if Luke Skywalker pilots a ship, doesn't
Mhm.
that ship becomes
Oh yeah,
treated
yeah.
as a
No,
leader? So you
you're right.
basically need a Rivals Fall
Right.
reprint
Rivals Fall reprint would be
or
able
a
to take it out.
takedown
Yeah,
when
yeah,
he goes
yeah.
down or something.
Yeah, absolutely right. Vanquish wouldn't be able to do it, but a takedown would. However, confiscate,
Yeah.
like the gray 1 card from set 1
Yeah.
that allows you to defeat an upgrade would not
Yep.
work on Luke.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Makes sense.
yeah, I think another leader that is very consistently piloting things is Poe Dameron. And he's really strong in our constructed testing, but
Makes
his
sense.
his nemesis is that a lot of the attachment hate is very good at removing him. And I think in a limited pool where that attachment hate would be less consistently against you, he could probably perform really strong.
Cool. Yeah. Like I just read him when he was released. Remember that he was strong and like I think he's like just being able to deploy multiple times. It's either he's in this category like when we talked like about Chancellor Palpatine in set 3. It's probably either going to be really good or it's going to be a little bit, like too hard to make it good consistently. And it's cool to see that in your testing that it is probably strong.
Yeah, I
But
think yes.
doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be strong in sealed because you need to pull spaceships consistently early so you can start deploying them on them. Well, in 6 packs you don't know, even though it's likely that you will get some in this set. But yeah,
it's hard to know. So I'd say my 2 favorites in the set for sealed would be Luke and then maybe Poe. Poe flips at 5 as well and has very good stats. So he gets to flip and he gets to be like an attachment. So you can use him as an attachment from turn 1, basically. And then you can also flip him as a leader. And once he dies, you can go back to using him as an attachment again. So that's where he's shining, really. He isn't the best pilot attachment by any means. He's just a +2/+1, but he's a really good stat line at 5. He's a 4/6 at 5. That's definitely good. So
that is like it's like Phasma, and you said that Phasma doesn't really have an ability. So
Phasma's ability might not be online, but Poe's ability probably will be online.
Yeah.
So that's why if I was interested in Phasma, it has to be that because of the pool. Because if I'm just looking at the stats and what she does, I'm probably going to lean more into Poe Dameron.
So, like, to round up your thing is like you really think the hero leaders are a bit stronger here. Like you're talking about Poe, Luke, and Rose.
Yeah, yeah. I would actually probably think that Major Von Dreg could be really good. It's really
Yep.
hard to say with that kind of ability as well, just like we talked about
Yeah.
um, Akbar, because it's slow. He
Yep.
gets to give a vehicle unit, again, something that you probably quite consistently can have. But when you play a vehicle, you can give another unit +1/+0.
Yeah. If you
Could
trade a
be
lot, might not be any units on the board. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it could be really good for trading, but it might also be too slow. Like it
Yeah.
can't really affect the board that much. People will be able to maybe respond to that in a good way.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so for me, like the villain, since you smashed my Phasma, I'm going to keep promoting Asajj Ventress. I think
Yeah.
that's I think she's going to be real good
I agree
in
with that though.
limited and might actually be good in sealed.
No, I think she could be really good in sealed.
Or I'm, I meant in Premiere even.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
Oh,
yeah,
who knows?
I think she might. But I think in sealed, I think she's going to be good.
Hmm.
Like maybe unlimited has this tendencies that the 5 drops are best, so maybe that's just the same thing as normal. But like, uh, I think she's really cool. Grit is pretty good though in
Yeah,
sealed, in my
it
opinion.
is. It is.
Uh,
No, I think she could definitely be really strong. I think that Rio Durant could be strong. I'm a little bit sad that his ability, that is very good, costs 1. If it would have been a
hmm,
free ability, he would probably be my favorite all set for limited. But
yeah,
the action ability from his leader side, it's an action, cost 1, and he um, exhausts the leader, and then he can
yeah,
attack with the space unit, and it gets +1/+0 and gains saboteur. So
yeah.
that's very relevant, but costing 1, it might not be good enough.
Yeah, and I think he is a good pilot, the 3/5,
Hmm.
but I think
Hmm.
he's not a sexy
No,
drop on the ground.
no, no,
That,
no. You're not deploying him on ground unless you
yeah,
absolutely have to.
which loses the flexibility part of piloting
Exactly.
because
Yeah. Yeah.
it has to be good on both sides. Otherwise, it's not flexible. It's
All right.
just
I
there.
agree. I definitely agree. So he's the one that could have been good, but
Yeah,
I don't think he is really.
yeah, I don't think so either.
Asash probably really is good though. I definitely think she will be. You will need to have some ways to trade early and to keep like stalling the board so
Yeah,
that you can get her out and stabilize. But if you can do that, I think she can be really good.
and she's like, I know that doesn't really matter in Seal, but she's filled with these sub traits like Force, Knight,
Mhm.
Bounty Hunter, and Pilot.
Mm.
So
You might be drawing in, you might open something that where it's really relevant and you can do something that most other decks can't do as well. So
yeah,
yeah, could definitely be interesting. All right.
all right.
Um, so just for a quick reminder for everyone, in the pre-release box, you do get 6 packs to open, and then you build your deck out of that. But you also always have access to two leaders that you get extra in the pre-release box that you can't just. So you always get the 2 leaders that are in the pre-constructed decks. So for all sets in the first year, we had what do we call those? You call those starter sets?
Yeah, starter decks. Or
Starter sets or starter decks, where you get 2 different decks in a pack with 2 leaders and pre-constructed decks, and you would always get those 2 leaders available to you in the pre-release box. For this set, we don't get an actual starter set, but you do get 2 different pre-constructed decks that you can buy: a Han Solo deck and a Boba Fett deck. So you will have both a Han Solo unit, Han Solo leader,
yeah,
and a Boba Fett leader available in the in the pre-release decks, pre-release box. So you can always, even if you would draw into some really wonky leaders that you don't have good support for, you could always build either a Boba Fett deck or you could build a Han Solo deck. And out
and
of
then I
those
would
2,
recommend Boba.
for sure. Absolutely. I think Boba is actually really good. He's very similar to Luke Skywalker.
Yeah,
He might not be able to, it's like, so his ability is that he gets to you get to assign 1 indirect damage to your leader every time you deal non-combat. No, as a reaction to dealing non-combat
Yeah.
damage. So it's not every time, but you can do it once per turn. So if you play something like Daring Raid, I don't know if it's reprinted in the set, but something like that would just allow you to deal some damage to something. Then you can have an extra indirect damage assigned as well. So that's I don't know how consistently you're going to be able to use it, but probably kind of consistently. Not maybe every turn, but every now and then, a couple of times per game. And then his flip turn is probably quite good, though. He has almost the same stats as Luke. He gets to be a 4/4 pilot rather than a 4/5 pilot. And then he gets to assign 4 damage as you like. Basically, a small overwhelming barrage.
Yeah, and that's pretty strong.
That's very strong. That's very, very strong. So I think he's probably a really good choice if you're not opening any other good leaders. He can definitely work.
All right. I think now I want to hear about you talking about this ranking list, or what was this?
Yeah, no. This is something that's been brewing in my mind for quite a bit, but I think we've talked about we worked our way to this for a while now, but we really want to have this podcast and what we do focus not only on the cards and like the meta as it constitutes cards, but we want to talk about the meta as a group of players, as a community, and we want to highlight and sort of support the competition, I guess, between us players, and have that in a nice and friendly way, but also in a fun way. So what we've decided to do with this is that we're going to start tracking all competitive events where Scandinavian players are, well, not just Scandinavian players. We'll allow the Finns in as well. So the Nordic players, we're going to look at Nordic players and see how are they doing in competitive events. So whenever Nordic players top 8 in competitive events, we're going to track that, and we're going to assign points based on the size of the tournament and the whatever you're placing in the tournament. And then we're going to track that over each set, and then also in a legacy for all sets, and start ranking players just for fun. It's the unofficial Nordic Takedown Nordic player ranking. That's what we're going to call it, and it's going to be for fun. We're going to have a video every set. At the end of every set, we're going to release a video and just going through the rankings for the set and the standings for the legacy sort of standings.
And there might be some updates during like in between, right?
Could be in the podcast. We could always look at whenever someone overtakes someone else or something like that.
Because there are a lot of tournaments.
There are a lot of tournaments. There's a lot of tournaments, but let's be clear: it's just competitive tournaments. We're purposely leaving things like showdowns out of this because those aren't supposed to be competitive. So even though this ranking is mostly for shits and giggles, we're still not gonna like try and make non-competitive events competitive. That's not what we want to do. That's not what we're setting out to do at all. So pre-releases, drafts, showdowns, and any kind of tournament that isn't supposed to be competitive is not going to be used for these rankings. We're only going to use what's supposed to be a competitive tournament. And I'm going to track it, and we're going to present it at least a video every set, like at the end of the set. So this is why I'm talking about it right now, because I'm working on that video where I'm going to present the standings from set 3 and also the legacy standings all the way from set 1, and so that we have that going into set 4. And at the end of set 4, we're going to have another video updating that. And by
that's really cool.
Isn't it? It's going to be fun. And at the end of the year, we might have an award show. Handing out some interesting, fun awards to people that's done well in the Nordic countries.
Victor is basically signing on that he's going to be on the podcast around the 27th of December or something. Yeah.
Something like that.
Now
Something like
that's settled. That's cool.
that. That's cool.
Uh, no, I think that's really exciting. Obviously, FFG has promised their kind of ranking list at some point.
They're going to do the real deal. We're
Yeah,
just doing the Nordics and the fun things, but we are going to include tournaments they are not looking at even. We're going to look at
yeah,
things like the Malmö Game Week, going to look at the Cantina Brawls and all of those tournaments happening all over the Nordic countries or elsewhere
yeah,
that aren't actually FFG sanctioned events, and we're going to
yeah.
assign points for those as well.
So if you are a Nordic player going for example to the US and plays and
Mm,
does well, we don't know everyone. So if you're listening to this and you go to tournaments, you perform, and you want to get your points scored, you just DM
let us know.
Victor.
Yeah,
Let us know that you were at the tournament. It's a casual for fun thing. So Victor here is you're not going to research everything
no.
like in the smallest detail, just to scan all the Nordic players for where we
I'm
are.
keeping
So
my eyes open,
yeah,
and everything I spot, I'll go for. And I do have my tentacles out there, so I hope I'm not missing things.
yeah,
But you know, if a friend of yours done well, let me know, and I'll just
yeah,
add it. It's just for fun
yeah.
anyway.
So yeah,
Mhm.
that's really exciting. Looking forward to that video.
Yeah, yep. All right, moving on to our probably best topic of the night. So
Actually, yeah,
we need to say farewell to this set. It's the tail end of the set 3, and this meta, I for one have had a great time in this meta. I think it's been an extraordinary good meta. So I definitely think it deserves a good send off.
yeah.
How would you rate this meta that we had in set 3?
I would actually rate it 5 of 5. Or 10 of 10, if you want to have a scale of rating, and not just because it's been going well for me, but like I think because we're not just rating the meta now of set
No,
3, not necessarily the set of set 3.
no,
I want to be clear with that, but
yeah,
like
certainly.
it's I think it's been like a very healthy competitive meta.
Mhm.
Obviously, you can. I have not been drafting a lot, so I know some people have been annoyed with Anakin in draft, and some people like make a house rule to ban him. So you could say you could dock some points of the meta because of that. But in
Yeah,
competitive wise, I think it's been real fun, and I think it's been this growing evolution in a way. Like from when the set released, like the PQ season has not been that. It's been growing a little bit, but it was quite set before, uh, because it's been 2 months and then that like 1 month of PQs. So the
yeah.
first 2 months were a lot of experimenting. Like I was building and playing this Han, no, sorry, not Han, Anakin Blue,
Mm.
which was just really fun. I really enjoyed a lot of the leaders that came out when Boba got banned. I suspended more. I think I did not think it would be this diverse, like just because of a Boba suspension. Just thought someone would take his place, and it would be like I actually thought Sabine would just take the place. Uh,
Mhm.
I feared it. Sabine was pretty good,
But
but
she didn't take his place
no, no,
by
no,
any
not at
means.
all. Um, so yeah, just a lot of fun. We'll go into more details about it. But how did you enjoy it?
No, I tremendously enjoyed it, and I think like the defining feature of the meta was actually like you said, we're not talking about the set here. We're talking about the meta that we had since the set released up until now, and I think the defining feature of this meta is actually quite different for me, at least, than what it was for the two first sets. The first two sets for me were defined by board states, like especially like a couple of decks that could reach sort of the critical mass board states. So Boba could do that, Sabine could do that, and to quite some extent, Kira could do that. They could just reach a board state where it was that they were going to win.
Yeah.
And the point of the game, to a large extent, was if you played one of those decks, it was to get to one of those board states. And if you played against one of those decks, you were trying to prevent one of those board states to come along. Now, for me, this set was completely different. Sorry, not the set, the meta. The meta
Yeah.
was completely different. This deck, as meta for me, was defined by tempo, incremental tempo. And that is so different. It has a completely different feel to it. And so when people talk so much about maybe how they felt about certain cards and certain interactions that they didn't like, I think the point that made none of that really matter to me was how even if you look at an interaction like DJ, there was sort of a tempo idea to how that worked. So this is for me, it's personified in how Talking Town got just as big as, or even greater than ECL
Yeah,
as a
this set,
base. Yeah.
like this season was definitely a better base for sure.
Yeah, and you could see that, like the incremental tempo gain of taking out that first turn play was
Yeah,
much more important than getting to some kind of specific board state at the flip turn. The flip turn got much less of a huge thing, and it was just part of the game instead. So that's how I sort of look at the meta we had, and I enjoyed that so much.
yeah. I to an extent agree. Like with it being more tempo, I think Unlimited has always been tempo.
Mm,
Like it's a tempo game in different ways, but
mm,
I think you could feel it more here with all the Tarkin Town decks.
mhm,
I think Tarkin Town and ECL. I guess
mm, mm,
like before we had only Boba and Sabine really playing the ECL decks, and like
mm.
they push tempo with others just put on a stronghold and try to get back from the tempo. Now it felt like everyone was trying to tempo
Yeah,
together, like
yeah,
how to do it most efficiently,
mhm.
and that's why some leaders just didn't get a place in the end.
No,
But
yeah,
a lot of them got a place, I think. And what was really cool, I was just looking, was like the 9 most winning leaders. You had 3 leaders from set 1, 3 leaders from set 2, and 3 leaders from set 3,
yeah,
which like means like all sets had relevant leaders,
yeah,
and like obviously set 1 leaders was a little bit stronger because Han and
mm,
Sabine was number 1 and 2,
yeah,
but still really good showing, like uh, from multiple sets of leaders.
yeah. No, yeah, certainly. I think two of the most played leaders anyway were from set three. You had a
Yeah,
huge showing from Django, obviously, but
and
you also
Quinlan. Yeah,
Quinlan in the US especially, but to some extent here in Europe as well,
yeah.
and Anakin. Anakin
Oh
was one
yeah,
of the
true.
most played leaders, even if he didn't perform as well as some of the others we talked about.
Yeah,
He did show up a
yeah.
lot. So yeah,
Yeah, he was the 7th most winning leader, so
yeah.
he wasn't, but he might have been like the 2nd most played, or something
Exactly,
like that.
exactly. Yeah,
Especially in the early
certainly,
stages. But
certainly.
people never really stopped playing him, even though people realized he's not the best, but it's Anakin, and he can go
No, he
like
could do a lot of things that were
reset
interesting.
playing. Like
Yeah,
yeah,
and he presented some conundrums to your opponent.
yeah.
You had to play around him. So I think
Anakin
he
is such
was.
a good leader for the game.
Yeah, exactly. Even if he's not the most dominant leader in any way, and that's maybe not a bad thing. It
Yeah,
might be a good
maybe not
thing.
a bad thing. Yeah,
No, yeah, but he was a very defining feature. You had to be aware of him in the set, and you
yeah.
definitely played him a lot against him at least.
Yeah, I've played a lot with Anakin and against Anakin. That's my. If you look at the screen, like when you play on the tabletop, which leader was played most on my board? It
Mm,
was by far Anakin, either
yeah,
against or as played.
yeah,
So I've been enjoying Anakin a lot, and like he's so complex. He's not the strongest, but he's so hard to pilot, and he can go so many routes. Like I think Anakin is like, even though Quinlan and Django was played maybe even more, maybe not, but like at least performed better.
Yeah.
I think Anakin was the most fun leader coming out of this set for me. Like that, I obviously like since I started playing it from the beginning, I got that first crush.
Mhm.
Even though I did predict that Quinlan was going to be good.
Yeah, me too. I was very high on Quinlan originally.
I was so surprised it took so long, and
Yeah.
then I had kind of given up the thought of him, and then he just sneaked up in the PQ season.
Yeah.
So
No, so
that was
I
cool.
agree. No, I was very high on him, and I was building a lot with him in the early parts of the set.
Yeah,
But
same.
then, for some reason, I couldn't make him work, and it seemed that a lot of people were having a hard time making him work.
Yeah,
But
like
then,
I had decks that were almost as similar as the ones ending up. Like there
yeah,
was just few cards, but it didn't work in the beginning.
no,
I think it was because there was more control in the
yeah,
beginning,
yeah,
uh,
yeah.
and
Boss
like
Blue and that
yeah,
made a difference. Yeah, I
he
don't think he
kind of
felt so well.
disappeared later.
Yeah, yeah,
Some other decks took care of him
mhm,
uh, for Quinlan.
yeah, yep. That's but that's how metas work, and that's also a good thing about this meta. It wasn't static. It
No,
it it kept evolving up until it's still evolving, I guess, even though I'm not following it as closely this week. But even as we watched the Two Moons tournament last weekend, we had a really significant amount of Palpatine and other decks that haven't been up there as much. Were performing really well, and there
yeah,
were a very stark lack of Han Yellow. There
yeah,
weren't at all any Han Yellows in the very top that we got to follow anyway.
no,
So yeah, the meta kept evolving. The meta kept shifting from week to week. You'd have weeks where Bosk were performing extremely well, especially Bosk
yeah,
Green,
yep,
and then it almost teetered out, and you didn't see as much of it for a couple of weeks. And you had this sort of it came in waves, so I really enjoyed that a lot. What do you think will be sort of a thing that will be of this meta, a past thing that won't manage to be as relevant going forward, but that we will remember from this meta?
sadly, I think Anakin is going to be one of those
Ah,
things that just like don't survive next until next meta.
mm,
I think there is nothing that I've seen so far in set four. Is it? Yeah,
mhm.
set four. That makes me believe that dropping on a 6 is better now.
Yeah, no.
Uh, so and he's already struggling here. He was not amazing in space. Like the tales of the Anakin decks that I played, I played with only ground units turn one,
Mm,
uh, because governor was good because you know what to guess. Finally,
mhm,
R2C3PO, all those had 1/4 stat lines, so they survived all trades with three against
mhm,
3 HP units,
mhm.
and you didn't get this awkward. I play a 2/3 in space after you play your A wing. That's just going to
Yeah,
trade me for free.
yeah,
You never ended up in those situations. Uh, Next set is going to be a lot about space.
yep,
And Anakin did not love that already. Uh,
no,
so I think he's going to be one that might fail to survive.
mhm,
Obviously, there is going to be some else as well, but I
mhm,
can't really tell which one because I think
mhm,
maybe Cad Bane, because he's
mhm,
also 6-drop.
mhm.
But Django, Sabine, and Han, uh, and maybe even and Bosk, and maybe Quinlan, they're just so good leaders.
They are.
I don't
They've
know why they
relevant
would not
abilities.
work.
Yeah, no, they
Might be
were.
because they're not flexible and can be pilots.
Yeah,
That
maybe.
might be the only reason why they get pushed out.
But
And
my guess is they will stick around for a bit.
yeah, I think the one thing we don't know yet is if FFG is like Han Yellow has good. Well, just Han has a lot of wins,
Mm,
even though, like you said, if you look at top 8 stats, for example, he's
mm,
not dominating top 8s. There is a lot of top 8s he's not there.
mm,
Especially like if you talk Han Yellow, it's very difficult to pilot, so
mhm.
he has a very high conversion rates into wins.
Yep.
I won 2 PQs with it, but in Oslo, there was like 3 totals. Han Yellow, only I made the cut. I
Mm,
think in Stockholm, in 64 players, we were 3 or 4. I
mhm.
think maybe 4 players. We were 2 making the cut. Like, and the
No,
other 2 wasn't close. So he was not everywhere. But the high conversion rate might still be a worrying factor for FFG, and they could do something about DJ. And if DJ gets tinkered with, maybe Han Yellow isn't the top dog, and people look at other things.
yeah. No, I even if they leave the DJ interaction as is, I still think that Han 1 might not be going in the mono yellow, the strongest in this set. I think with the arrival of all the spaceships and the lanes, sticking to a mono yellow build might
Yeah,
just be too limiting for what the set is all about and where the strong things in this set comes in. That being in mono yellow might not be where you want to be anyway. You might want to have to look at having another color so you can get a more wider range of especially attachment hate, like to be able to get more than one good attachment answer. You might have to use 2 colors, and
yeah,
I think yellow, going mono yellow with Han might just be too limiting. And then obviously, if you're not in mono yellow, the DJ interaction is so
yeah.
much less of a
It's
problem.
it's not a problem then. Then
No,
it's
the
on.
DJ tech
It's
combo
kind of,
is good, but
yeah.
it's not as consistent
I
as it needs to be a problem. It's a factor, sure,
Yeah,
but it's
it's a
not a
factor on
problem.
how you need to play.
Yeah,
But if you get tech DJ'd by a Han Green,
mm,
I'm gonna say this: either you're
that's on you.
really, really unlucky,
Yeah, no, yeah, sure, sure.
or you're playing bad.
Yeah,
That's the only 2 factors.
yeah,
Because it's very easy preventable, or you're just playing a deck that is banking on not facing it,
yeah,
and that's just a bad choice.
yeah,
Maybe,
yeah,
perhaps.
yeah,
So I think unless you play Han Yellow, that's kind of most of the times on you.
mm,
If you get DJ'd,
mm.
um, you can still think it's an unfun interaction, and that's fine.
Sure, no, that's up
but
to you. But
but
it's not a
it's not a
problematic thing.
problem. It's
No,
not
it's not
problematic
problematic. Yeah.
at all.
So
Um,
so I really hope that FFG isn't going too quick to do too much too quickly here. I've
yeah,
heard rumors about the interaction with Han Solo being able to discard the card he steals, not being intentional, and
yeah.
I which kind of signals to me that they might want to do something about it, but I would prefer they didn't because I think it's an
I think it's a
interesting
cool. Yeah,
it's an
uh,
interesting interaction, and I think it's okay to have interesting interactions.
yes, I think so too. And like, uh, I think there is no reason to play Han Yellow if
Yeah.
they suspend DJ. Then just go green.
Or
Or
even if they because the cleanest way to do what we're talking about with changing that interaction would just to be adding something in the actual rules that prevents you from discarding a
on a
resource
pro.
that you don't own.
Yeah, and then it's still no point. I think that's basically killing DJ.
So
Uh,
exactly, yeah.
yeah,
That is basically killing DJ. He would not be playable.
I would not pay 7 to loan a resource.
No, no, not at
Might
all.
not even want, like sometimes I would like to do it for 5,
Yeah,
but I would not include it in my deck for
yeah.
sometimes
The op-
borrowing. Uh,
exactly the
there are so
opportunity
many
cost
good
is
cards
just
now.
yeah
Yeah,
the opportunity cost is just too high for that. So
yeah.
yeah, no, I wouldn't.
So
Yeah, no,
without talking too much about him, like, but
yeah,
I think he has been a very fun part of the meta, and like, uh, I think something to more worry about is probably Django,
yeah,
which is already thriving on the space stuff.
hmm
Maybe, maybe getting slightly buffed in space isn't that big for him. Like that
Yeah.
could be a thing, but I think
But
he is looking strong.
there's nothing about Django's ability inherently that makes him strong in space. He's his ability is just super strong as as being able to have that tempo
Yeah,
while it's a very cheap tempo move.
yeah.
And I think that that doesn't really have to do with space, does it?
Doesn't really, but there is a lot of like good spaceships that ping.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. Mhm.
which means he becomes a good space day, um, in a way. And then there is the factor that villain yellow red has, well, just yellow has access to triple dark raid,
Mhm.
which is a very good space tempo thing,
Yep.
uh, and that they are like, if you want that card, you have to play yellow,
Yep.
and then you have,
The yellow villainy.
yeah, yellow villainy, yes.
Mm.
And then you have Ruthless Raider, which is an amazing card. And then you have to play villain red.
Yep.
And that's just, and that just seems to line up very well with Django.
Mhm.
He
Mhm.
also drops on 5, which is
Yeah.
incredibly
Always good.
strong.
Always good.
So, and now with some more, like, I know many people think that the Fitz Fire Spray hasn't been that strong in that deck,
Mm.
um, because it's easily removed. It doesn't do anything just when it lands. It's a riskier play.
Yep.
So with all these new spaceships that you can find from Triple Dark Raid and stuff, I think he looks scary. But
Mhm.
there are also new leaders like Wedge and stuff that cheaper pilots that also look scary. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't know that. I'm not scared. I don't think he will be oppressive. I think he will be a good part of the meta. I do think he will be part of the meta, though. I think he's going to be strong.
yeah, I think that's unavoidable.
Mm.
If he's not a part of the meta, then Sabine is going to be really good,
Mhm.
in
Yep.
my opinion, because she's one of the leaders that can say like, "Oh, you want to go space? Okay, I just rush you on ground, put my dark saber, and see you later." Like,
Yeah. No, whether or not Darksaber is going to be viable in this
yeah,
meta,
with
because I
upgrade
think
hate.
upgrade hate is going to be an must in this
Yeah,
meta. But even without the Darksaber, what Sabine really brings to the table is the reach, the
yeah,
ability to hurt you for that last damage when they have no board.
yeah,
You stabilized, you got everything off the board, and you're like, fine, I made it, she's off.
yeah,
And then she's like, no you didn't, for a
yeah,
course and ping.
yeah,
And that's only Sabine can do that fifth damage.
yes.
For a course can
Uh,
only make 4 damage. Sabine can make that fifth damage. And yeah,
and as you
that's the
say,
reach she's got.
if dark saber is not a thing, then it's just easy to replace with, oh, 3 main deck Bright Hope.
Yeah, yeah,
Just slow
yeah,
that down and just
yeah,
keep hitting.
yeah.
I think so. I think that she has a good chance. I like Palpatine
Yep.
is someone that could, like, with the new blue base.
Hmm.
Palpatine blue could be
Yep.
the control deck that all control players are just
Been
dying
waiting
to
for.
have.
Been
Yeah.
waiting for. Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, and
of
the new
course,
blaze.
yeah.
The new
With the
blue
new
blaze,
base,
the thing.
I think that is very interesting. I am not a control player, but like, that is, if that might be something I want to try.
Blue Palpatine was already good. It just
Yeah,
was such a bad matchup into specifically Sabine.
yeah,
Specifically the reach she got.
yeah,
Because that deck could stabilize. It could
yeah,
get there and lose anyway, because Sabine would just be within reach of her. Even though she didn't
yeah,
have a board at all, she could timely intervention, wreck it into something and get that last damage,
yeah.
or
Sparkle
just
up Cassian
yeah, yeah,
for a cause. Some people play Daring Raids, and then you had,
yeah,
I played Sabine with sideboard Chaos of War.
yeah. There were
Look,
so many ways she could just
yeah,
get those last damages in, or just with that built-in stall of the ping, even if it wasn't enough to reach win, she could do it, and then once the other person had to kind of claim, she could just, oh yeah, I've got 5 resources here, so I'll bring out this Cassian Andor and
yeah.
get that last three in. You know, there was so many ways. There was so many ways.
And she still has the ways.
Oh yeah,
So
none of that is despairing for her right now.
no, but the 5 HP
Mm,
for pulp could be the thing that,
that
like,
could be the thing that
if
make.
pulp stabilize on 25,
Yeah,
that reaching for 10, that is a lot.
that's a
Uh,
lot, even for
that's
Sabine.
you need a lot more
Yeah,
for that. A little bit more luck,
yeah.
at least.
So that could be the thing that really gives him the edge and the ability to stabilize against a deck like Sabine. So
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, I think Palpatine could definitely be something here.
and then Bosk is just Bosk. Like
Bosk is always
a
going to be
version
Bosk.
of Bosk is going to be there. Like,
There's going to be
I guess
something.
if there is so much upgrade hate, if it's
Mm,
cheap upgrade hate, then the
mm.
bounties are not good. But if
Yeah,
it's a little bit more pricey upgrade hate, then it's still going to be relevant. It's still
yeah.
going to be really good.
No, I think Bosk is probably one of the decks that is going to see a downtick. It's been very strong, both the blue and the green in different
Yeah,
parts of this meta. And I think at least initially, when people are packing all the upgrade hate, that
yeah,
is going to make Bosk at least perceived as less worth. And
yeah,
then he might return, but at least initially that might be the perception. But don't forget that some of the bounties aren't actually upgrades. There are quite a few ways for Bosk to get bounties on things without actually upgrading.
yeah.
So you got the client, and you got there are things, there are
Yeah.
ways to do it. So
So,
yeah,
so yeah, like before you, we might end with like the most fond memories and stuff of this
I
set
think so.
three.
Yeah.
But I just want to ask, like, you even though this was a very diverse meta, like there
Mm.
was so many decks, I think this is the meta you almost played the least different decks. You just stuck on your Krennic.
Yeah,
How do you feel about that in retrospective? Do you feel like you missed out, or like do you still enjoyed the process that much that you and Alexander had?
I think the process was all worth it. Was it the way to win things? No, no, it was not.
No.
It was not. But did I have a good time? Oh yes, I had a
Yeah.
great time, and it's not just me and Alexander. I have to be very upfront with that as well. I had so many great partners in this, and people that were working on this deck together and talking about it. It's almost a community of its own, the Krennic community,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we were a
Like,
tight knit group that had a lot of fun, and I got friends through this, and we were having our own little corner of the SWU universe, and
yeah.
it was fun.
Are you
Uh,
Krennic for life now, or is it?
no, and I wouldn't have said that I was even as I've been playing so much Krennic and working so hard on that deck. I've always been playing other things on the
Yeah,
side.
yeah.
I've
It was just your competitive
it was what
goal.
what I
Yeah.
tried to make competitive with not a completely unsuccessful route. I did have some success at least with it.
Yeah, and
I
Krennic
did
took down one PQ so far, so it's possible.
yeah, exactly. uh, also, a friend through this
Oh yeah,
community. It was
yeah,
one of the guys that we've been talking a lot to. A really nice Canadian guy, Krilo, and he made that deck work like the rest of us couldn't. So yeah, no, good on him.
yeah.
No, talking about fond memories from the meta, that this has obviously been one of the most fond memories for me from this meta. It's been the community around Krennic, me and Alexander working so hard on that deck initially, and then reaching out to other people, bringing other people in, and me and Alexander always kept working on it, and we had other people come in, and we collaborated with a lot of other people as well, and that was definitely one of the best memories I have from this meta.
Nice.
So, how about you? What do you remember?
A lot, I guess, but I think it's too partial. Like, one of the most nice thing was the start, like all
Mm.
the work with Anakin Blue, trying to keep it hidden, like the way we were playing it, like for the Cantina Brawl. Uh, obviously very sad to lose to Kevin in the final, but but like the whole process of making that deck in the beginning, trying to find and break the game in a way,
mm, mm.
which was the goal with that deck. That was really really fun. Like working with Jonah, Tobias, and Johan here, like just building the deck like kind of from scratch in a way. That was really fun. And the other part is like this felt like a more competitive season than before now because we got the 3 times more PQs. So I felt like I went to more tournaments. I did actually, in fact, go to more tournaments. That was actually like supported with some kind of prize pool that was actually worth traveling for. And that was really fun in itself. Playing Han Yellow, amazingly fun. Like, I really hope they don't change anything with that because then I might just stick around on it. We'll see. I love playing with Smuggle. I realize that now with both Anakin and Han. But like just having this big multiple tournament season, like I made like by selling stuff almost like, well, if you don't pay taxes, like half a month's salary in February just on playing SWU, which is like quite nice. If this keeps growing, like hey, could be a semi-professional just by playing here in Sweden. Like imagine what you can do in living in the US, or have easier like access. Not saying that I'm going pro or anything, but like just having these opportunities to win big. I think that's just really fun and multiple ones as well. Like so, it's not just once a year.
No.
I think that is like because obviously no one's going to win them all. Like you see, Kevin won one, I won two, Niklas won one here, and then we had Adam winning one, like the Malmö game week before. Like it's different with different winners, and I think that's really fun. Even though Kevin has been reaching most finals, I guess, or like
he's been very consistent.
So obviously, it's going to be some similar faces in the top, but I think that is very healthy to the game. Just going to different places and just seeing these same faces, like the top players that are traveling. I think that is even here in the Nordics. I think that is. I really hope that's just not going to be a fun memory from set 3. It's just going to be a continued one from set 4, 5, and onwards. So yeah, I think that's apart from just keep meeting all these great peoples that are like fond memories in themselves. Everyone just making comments about the podcast, just I love it. Because no one says anything bad at this point.
No, at this point we're not getting any hate, and that's a rare thing on the internet apparently.
So I've heard.
Yeah, no, it's but that's not just from set 3. That's been a continuous experience for me. That both as a player going traveling to all these tournaments all over Scandinavia and the Nordics, it's just tremendous people that we meet and talk to, but also in the online discussion forums and on Discord servers all over the world, meeting and talking to people from all over the world that are just people you want to hang out with, the kind
you
of
never
people
meet.
you're glad to have in your life. Like with you already talked about, we were casting this Oslo tournament. I have 2 American commentators on for the finals. Awesome dudes, like the nicest guys, the kind of guys you want to spend evenings with and just have fun playing the game, talking to, and just it's just a good time. And that's so amazing that to be part of a community that's world spanning and is so far, to my experience, very welcoming, very open, and just chill.
I just pray it continues and like that these that we keep getting these events, and like in Sweden the Malmö Marcus guy and the Skövde
Hmm.
monitors, they
Mm.
keep driving these extra tournaments for us.
Yeah.
I hope we will get more people that does it.
Yeah.
So it's not just FFG reliant. And yeah, like, because we all love it. I want to meet these people that play more.
Yeah.
Uh, like it's so fun to catch up in between these tournaments and having these opportunities to meet because it's just great.
Yeah. So I guess that's what we want to bring with us from the set 3 and onwards. And with that, I think we can leave set 3 in the rear view mirror and
Yeah,
move on. And as this podcast goes live, we have less than 2 weeks, almost only 1 week until we actually get to dig into set 4. So
yeah.
I think that's a good note to stop this podcast, this episode on. And yeah, we will be back next Thursday as always. And I don't know, do you want to add anything at the end here?
No, it's just been a great set.
Yeah,
I'll just echo in that. Myself, very humble. It's been great.
it has been great.
Yeah.
So
Thank
with
you for
that,
today, Victor.
yeah, with that, we leave you all. I guess we say, may the force be with you. And
That sounds fair.
yeah, and see you in a week. Bye.
See ya. Bye.